talking about retail theft. Retail theft is hitting us, and it is one of the things that is a contributing factor over into inflation because they have to pass those prices and those losses over into the consumer. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm. Let's continue to run it up.
American consumers are reeling from high food prices. The cost of food up better than 4% annually, outpacing inflation at 3.7%. A recent report from Lending Club also shows 60% of adults are living paycheck to paycheck. The number unchanged from last year.
Wait. Let's not skip past that. 60% of adults, I actually think is higher. I will put the number more closer to 85%. I will put the number closer to 85%. They say 60% of Americans is living paycheck to paycheck. And this is important because this is actually going to factor into what it is that we're talking about in the next subject, right? 60%, more than half of you. It's over 2,000 people in here watching this right now. The likes is a little low, but we going to get there. 2,000 plus people are watching this live stream right now. So according to this, 1,200 of you, at least 1,200 of you, are living paycheck to paycheck. Did y'all take the poll today? Because we're going to get into the real estate aspect of things. I would say it's closer to 85%. 85%, in my opinion, at the very least, are living paycheck to paycheck. The overwhelming majority of people that make six figures are living paycheck to paycheck. If you did not watch that clip where I broke down the taxes on Friday, then y'all need to go and deep dive into that. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let's continue.
Year when inflation was actually higher. Joining me right now is the CEO of Stu Leonard's grocery stores. Stu Leonard is with us. Stu, great to see you. Thanks very much for being here.
You too, Maria.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's early. I know usually we see a lot of activity behind you, but it's only before 7 a.m. I guess you're not open yet. But Stu, let's talk about pricing and what kind of changes you're seeing. Have you seen inflation and high prices come down as the headline number has come down, or no?
Well, you know what? I think when we look at
I got you, Lauren, Mac. I got you.
This year, Maria, they're about the same. There's a couple little blips, like meat prices have gone up because the herd sizes of the cattle is lower. So you're seeing a little bit of a bump in meat right now. We're hoping that'll come down by the holidays. But as far as other items, bananas are the same. Avocados might have gone up a little bit. A lot of this is supply and demand. Like right now out in California, grapes and blueberries are high because of the hurricane they had. So a lot of customers are finding you're sort of riding that supply and demand curve right now.
You know, a lot of the retailers talk about what they call shrink, and that is the shrinking of inventory because of all of the theft. Have you had to grapple with that?
Before he goes into shrink, right? Because I'll explain to you what shrink is. But before he goes into shrink, have y'all noticed that they based the prices off of what they project that prices should be depending on demand, right? So I'll give you an example. They say, well, it's a fire over in California, or the herds are thinner and it's not as many cows, or the cows is not as fat, or maybe they don't have as many antibiotics, or they're not feeding them enough corn or whatever, right? Think about this, y'all. Let's break it down. But we never have a shortage to where you guys don't have access to it. The shortage only contributes to the inflation of the prices. Nobody ever runs out of meat. Nobody ever ran out of grapes. Nobody actually ran out of strawberries. Nobody actually ran out of anybody, of anything, right? Think about this for a minute, y'all. I want y'all to start putting it in perspective. This is, in my opinion, all marketing. It's all marketing. Okay, so we got a shortage out here, so we got to make sure that we raise the prices in order to justify the costs that come along with the shortage. It makes no sense. The herds are thinner, so we got to raise the prices. Well, what did raising the prices actually do? Have you thought about that? Like, it's never going to be, the grocery store doesn't have it on the shelf, but the prices is going to go up based off of the idea of supply and demand. But let me go ahead and let him answer the question based off of shrink.
Hey, here's something everybody can look at. Look, here's two containers of tuna fish. Don't they look the same?
Yeah.
One of them is a leading brand right here at $2.99. This one's Stu Leonard's right here at $1.99. This one is 5 ounces. Ours is 5 ounces. The national brand's is 4 ounces. So look at the two of them. They look exactly the same. So I would just recommend check the package size, because these big companies are reducing the size of the package and keeping the price the same.
Yeah.
So inflation is also listen, I remember when I was growing up, the 25-cent bag of chips is now like the dollar bag of chips. And if you get a deal, if it's a local bag of chips, and you can get it for three for $3 or something like that, 3 for $2. I remember when I first started seeing it, the 25-cent juices turned into 69-cent juices, then they turned into $1 juices. When you get that bag of chips and it's all air at the top, but it looks nice and puffy. Inflation is not just the prices that you pay, is what I'm trying to communicate to you. Inflation is also the amount that they give you for the same price. So you may think that you're getting the same amount of things, but because you're not actually checking, or you're not deep diving into how much you get as a result of it, it may seem like you're still in the same place. But in reality, inflation is you're paying more for what you're paying for. So when you go to the store, it's not just, oh, I'm paying $1.89 for this, I'm paying $12 for this, or the price of eggs. What type of eggs? How many are there? When you get that can of tuna, or you get whatever it is that you're buying a lower quality, or you're getting less of it, right? So you have to take into consider every single factor that goes into what inflation is for you. And this is why I was trying to explain it to you guys last week. Inflation is not just what the government says. Inflation is also an individual journey based off of your lifestyle. If you are not a person that eats meat, then inflation hits you differently. If you are not a person that has a gas vehicle, then inflation hits you differently. If you are a person that has a home paid off and your property taxes are not continuing to go up at an egregious amount, if you are a person that's in New York and you're in a rent controlled apartment to where it can't go up any more than a specific amount, then your inflation is going to be completely different than a person that has to sell their home, or they sold their home and then they had to buy a new home in a completely different space at a completely different interest rate. So your individual inflation, the cost for you to be able to survive, live, do business, work, play, put a house over your head, so on and so forth, is going to be different on an individual level depending on what your lifestyle is. If your child says that, well, I don't want to live on campus, I'm going to save money this way, because you will then just make a blanket statement and say, well, college is too expensive. For who? Not for the person that went to community college for the first 2 years to do their general ed requirements and then transferred over to a major university, never lived on campus so that they can save money, worked while they were in school, did not have to pay the same interest that came along with student loans, minimized the amount of expenses, didn't go out and party with their friends and family. They still stayed at home with their parents and just commuted, or they went online instead of driving back and forth over to campus. Their college degree is going to be the same as far as the piece of paper that y'all get at the end of the journey, but the cost for you to go to that major university because you wanted to have the experience is going to be much different across the board. Inflation for you is going to translate differently because the value of money, yes, continues to go down because it's not backed by anything, and the cost of living continues to go up, but it's all driven by human behavior. It's all driven by human behavior. If you go out and you protest, I've seen the Waffle House employees protesting for at least $25 an hour. If you are the type of person that goes out to eat on a regular basis, eventually it trickles down into everybody because ultimately the costs are going to be passed on to the consumer. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to then be very, very intentional about what it is that you're doing from a financial perspective, because it's not just about saving money. You cannot save your way in order to be rich. You cannot save your way to wealth. It's about beating the rate of inflation, but the other part that they didn't tell you is it's also about being careful about how it is that you use your resources and reducing your expenses that you can't write off, that does not add value into your life, continuing to contribute into your assets, which then substantiates what your net worth is.
It's a great point. What I'm asking you about is shrink. The retailers call it shrink because of theft. Have you had an issue with theft?
Oh, yeah. Huge problem right now of all retailers. I talk to everybody, Target, and everybody's reeling. They're putting everything behind glass right now, so people can't steal anything. I said to one of the head buyers at Target, I said, well, doesn't that hurt sales when you put it behind glass? They said people were stealing so much it actually increased sales. So we got to watch it. We have a security guard at the front door. We have 150 cameras in each store, and we're watching customers as they come through. But a lot of problems right now, Maria.
Security guards at the front door, 150 cameras as they walk through. Guess what? When you live in an environment where they don't have to invest so much in security, guess where they pass the cost difference on to? The consumers. So a lot of people will say, well, why does it cost more in the hood when it's the same product? Well, it costs more to be able to put out the same product because they then have to pass over the cost of what that product is over to the consumer, which is not just based off of buying a product and selling it at two, right? The cost of that product is the security cameras and the company that had to install them and the security guard that then has to stand at the door and all of the employees that they have to have working, and then all of the people that they have arresting you and taking you and walking around the store trying to act like they regular employees to ensure that you're not stealing. And then they have to call the police, and then they have to have lights and have extra people clean up and all of this other type of stuff. That costs money. So it then increases how much you pay, which is going to be completely different than what they're paying over here, because they don't have to have that level of security in order to ensure that they sell you a piece of meat. You know what shrinkage is? You know what shrink is? Is waste. Waste including what gets wasted, what expires, what goes bad, what's broken, and what's stolen. So my point is this: when you look at the amount of money that it takes in order for you to be able to operate within your own environment, which is another reason why you guys need to be vigilant in making sure that you take care of your community, you call the police, you participate in the success of what's going on around you. It is in your best interest to protect your neighbors. If you see somebody breaking into your neighbor's car, what do you think that the price of insurance is going to be? And then how much more difficult is it going to be for you to also sell your home when everything is depressed, the property values go down, you can't make more money as a result of it? So basically, when your neighbor gets stolen from, you get stolen from. When you see people stealing in the grocery store and you just turn a blind eye and say, well, it's not my business, you then have to pay the price and the difference that comes along with what happens within your community. So when retail theft, when people steal cars, when your property value goes down, when you then have to get more security, when you have to then raise the prices in order to cover the cost of all of the theft that's going on around you, and then you sit here and you whine about inflation that's in your own neighborhood, it is a self-inflicted wound for you not to participate in the success that's happening all around you. Don't talk to me about a food desert. Don't talk to me about a lack of stores. Don't talk to me about the fact that you got to drive all the way over there in order to just get fresh fruits and groceries. It's because you don't do the thing that's in your own best interest, because our cultural norms are horrible. We think that it's cool to steal. We think that people that are doing the worst things in our community is awesome. It depresses our values. It depresses. When you have in South Florida and Michigan has some of the worst insurance rates all across the board. Well, that's because they have theft that's running rampant as far as people getting their cars stolen here. Inflation is more than just what the Fed raised rates on. Inflation hurts everybody depending on our lifestyles because we're all interconnected as to what it is that's going to affect us when we don't do the things that's in our own best interest. Let's continue.
Is that if you do catch somebody, the police just, what are they going to do?
Right.
You know, they don't even react. They don't even come over and arrest the person. You just really got to let them go.
Yeah, that's definitely an issue, and that's about bad policy. Stu, I want to get your take on the upcoming holidays and what you're expecting. I see you've got pumpkins behind you, and we've got...
Yeah.
Nah, we don't have to go into that. Shout out to Stu and his pumpkins. But I just wanted to give y'all some insight and a different perspective on inflation from a C student's perspective that maybe you can relate to, so you'll do the right thing when you see things happening and you won't just turn a blind eye. Ain't nobody telling you you got to participate and crash out and try to stop them at the door. But I am telling you that we need to be a little bit more proactive. And if you see your homegirl and she out there and she got that big purse, but she ain't got nothing but a pack of gum in there and you know she about to go stealing, hold that hoe accountable. Hold that hoe accountable.